next round here would be, okay, we address the quarterback situation. What would be the next position that you think there's the most to be settled and worked out here over the next few weeks?
This wasn't going to be my answer when we started camp, but there's been so many injuries on the offensive line that I'm kind of starting to wonder if we might see a true freshman starting at left tackle or playing a lot more than I expected. I kind of have been really careful with Josh Connerly. I know he was a 5-star, top-rated offensive lineman in the country last cycle. Didn't want to. We did this thing last year with Kingsley where I was like, he's going to start week 1, and then he transferred by the time he got to like October. So I was really careful this time around. I don't want to anoint anybody. I'm not going to say Connerly is going to be your day one blindside protector. That didn't work out last time. It may be the perfect storm here, and it's not necessarily all Josh. I think he's been really impressive from everything we've heard, but I also think there's been so many injuries. It's crazy. I was just sitting there chatting with James Creppy of the Oregonian yesterday. We're doing the math. I think 6 of the 14 scholarship offensive linemen are not full go right now, are unable to participate. And I won't name who it was, but another prominent offensive lineman left the scrimmage early, and it didn't look like he was feeling very good. That we'll see what happens on Tuesday when I'm at practice. But they're just kind of a bit of a tease that there might be another name that is added to that injury group. Because of all these injuries, I think Connerly has a real chance to play a lot and play early. And I also think it's interesting because I entered fall being like, okay, it's Stephen Jones in the spring was your left tackle. TJ Bass played left tackle last year. I was thinking one of those 2 guys would be it. Well, Bass is one of the guys limited right now, but Jones is working at guard. It kind of seems like they don't know if Jones is a better fit at tackle or guard, and that might open the door in a big way for a Josh Connerly, who's one of your few true left tackle body types on the roster. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but I'm kind of starting to buy into that might be a thing that happens where we get to week 1 and you might have Josh Connerly out there a lot more than you expected.
Well, and to add to that, Eric, that was one of the things they said when Clem came in, that he was very focused on doing one position, not having guys switch around and being able to play a bunch of different positions. Ryan Walk said that to me on when I had him on before the off season started, and that was really intriguing to me because I thought that was kind of a cool thing that they had as a former offensive line myself, that to be able to go from guard to tackle. I think it's a great deal, especially when you have injuries or in game situations, and there are even guys to be able to go to all 3 positions, which is absolutely insane. But I also really like the idea that you have a straight lineup, and you have your tackle. If you look at it like a basketball lineup, your tackle is like your guard, or your guard is like your forward, and your center is like your center. Multiple different positions. The 1, the 2, the 3, or whatever. They're different, and I like the idea of Connerly playing early. I like the idea of opening the door, and I think it allows for we always talk about this with skill guys, but we don't really talk about with offensive linemen or defensive linemen. The willingness to play. Everybody wants to play, and when you're a good player and you're a young kid and you see 5, 6, 7 guys in front of you, the willingness to transfer is there. And if you have a separate situation where you're a left tackle and you're playing left tackle, you may switch over to right side here or there, but if you're a tackle at least, and you only may have 2 guys in front of you, well, you can open that door in the first quarter of a game. Yeah. I mean, people don't focus on the offensive line that much, which is always, as all offensive line guys, we're always kind of pissed about that. But, injuries happen on the offensive and defensive line all the time. And you can lose your whole line in a myriad of 2 weeks. So you got to have a lot of guys ready to play. And I agree with you, Eric. I would say the offensive line is the second biggest question mark right now, or concern going into this year. Even though you thought you had a real solid first front, there are questions I saw on Twitter saying, somebody was saying, what are they going to do next year? I do think there's guys in line. I think they're going to be fine next year. But, they've kind of built this thing up to where the extra 5th year with COVID, these guys have been there for a while. They've established themselves, at least those 3, 4, 5 guys in the front.
One other thing on this, which is interesting. I wish I would have done this research before we got into fall. Adrian Clemens started at UCLA. He started 7 different true freshmen, day 1 starters, and 4 were All-Americans. So this is a trend with him that I was not aware of until we got into this. And then he talked about it a little bit when we spoke with him this week. And he seemed really open to the possibility of if your true freshman is your best left tackle, he didn't single out Connerly, but just if your best offensive lineman at whatever position is a true freshman, you're going to play that guy. So reading between the leaves here, I think keep an eye on that. I think that's one to kind of watch.
I kind
It
of want to
sounds-
watch if Dollars can push Cardwell at all. I know there's always been a lot of excitement, especially around a lot of the fans around Dollars, and I just want to see if he can actually, now that he's healthy this season, try and push through and at least be that second back, or maybe push for some of the carries Cardwell is expected to get, and just see how that plays out. Just to deviate off of the offensive line path. But yeah, that's a huge question mark with the amount of injuries, with there potentially being a seventh, like you said.
Well, and then also you have the transfers coming in, right, Eric? I mean, you have the transfers coming in; they're going to push too.
Yeah, well, so I was going to say, I talked to somebody in the offseason during the summer that was like, I think that basically was like, the fans are way too certain Cardwell is the starting running back, was basically what they said. They said that's not like over, that competition's not over. It wasn't trying to say anything negative about Byron. It sounded like Byron had a good spring, got injured before the spring game, so we didn't get to see him there. But that there was a sense from the fans that like, oh, it's Byron's job. He's the one. He's going to get, I don't know, whatever percent, 60%, of the carries. I don't know if that's the case. I think he probably is the one I would expect to start. But again, I think, and as Ryan, I think Sean Dollars is a candidate. As Ryan said, I was told by somebody, Noah Whittington might have had the best spring of any running back. That doesn't mean he's going to start, but he and Lachlan have worked together at Western Kentucky. They have that working relationship. Noah knows what he's supposed to do. I don't think he's as talented as Byron, but there seemed like there was, at least in the spring, like he just kind of bought in and understood what he was supposed to do, maybe a little better. Try to be careful how I say that. And I think Bucky Irving's a dude, and you could kind of see that enthusiasm from Lachlan. I don't know if you watched the interviews a couple of days ago, but his eyes lit up when he talked about Bucky.
And his tape looks great. I mean, when you put the tape on from him as a freshman, he looks great.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to have 4 or 5 guys that can legit go.
Play.
Yeah.